Things Are Getting Strange, an X-Files Rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And we're here at the end of Season 9.
Which isn't the forever end, at least.
No, it was once, but not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we have much, if any, news.
No. I've talked about FileFest for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, it's still a thing. It's still happening in August. But I haven't noticed any more news than what I've already given you.
But I suppose we should get to the truth. Dun dun dun.
It's out there.
The Truth, directed by Kim Manners, written by Chris Carter, and first broadcast on the 19th of May 2002. The only guest star of note because there is a lot of familiar faces coming back to this one. But we have someone new, who would be Matthew Glave, who played Kallenbrunner, or Special Agent Kallenbrunner. This would be the prosecution.
Okay.
So, he was in The Wedding Singer.
Okay.
Isn't Get Smart, the one with Steve Carell.
Okay.
Argo.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers. And this is a weird one, because it keeps coming back in a weird way. Picket Fences.
Okay.
Millennium. And American Horror Story.
Okay. So, would you like to give us a synopsis of the only feature-length episode of The X-Files?
I would. NBC's new president, James Kimbrough, contacts Jerry and George, offering a deal to produce their pilot Jerry as a series.
I've got to assume that this is Seinfeld.
Damn it. Oh, well, if you must have the truth. At Mount Weather military base, Fox Mulder appears with several government officials. He gains access to highly classified documents on a secure computer system, and is shocked and dismayed to read the documents, which provide details of the final colonization of the planet by alien forces. Before he can continue reading, Mulder hears another person approaching. He hides and observes Noel Rohr, a former friend of John Doggett, but who has been irreversibly transformed into an enemy super soldier, approach the computer system. Rohr immediately realizes the system has been accessed. Mulder attempts to attack Rohr, but Rohr overpowers him. Mulder frantically flees, but Rohr outflanks him, and in a violent altercation, Mulder flips Rohr off a catwalk onto a high-voltage wiring, and Rohr apparently dies by electrocution. Mulder attempts to escape, but is quickly arrested by several soldiers. News of Mulder's arrest spreads to the FBI. Upon hearing that he has resurfaced in such a dire manner, Scully and Skinner visit him in military custody. During his time in captivity, Mulder receives mysterious visits from two phantoms of his past, Alex Krycek and X. Meanwhile, Scully and Skinner go to great lengths to get him released, but are unsuccessful. Mulder's fate is ultimately made the subject of a military tribunal with Deputy Director Alvin Kirsch in charge. At the outset, it appears Mulder will become the hopeless victim of a show trial stacked against him. Skinner takes Mulder's defense, while Scully, Doggett, Reyes, Rita Covarrubias, Gibson praise, and Jeffrey Spender testify on Mulder's behalf. The prosecution presents Rohr's body as evidence against Mulder. Aware that Rohr is a seemingly invincible super soldier, Scully performs a medical examination and proves the body is not that of Rohr. Despite this, the evidence is rejected, given that the autopsy was not authorized and the defense is overruled. Mulder is sentenced to death for the murder of a military officer. Later, Doggett, Skinner, Reyes, Scully help Mulder escape with the unexpected help of Kirsch, who had decided he should have let Mulder go in the first place. Despite being advised to immediately leave the continent via Canada, Mulder takes Scully to New Mexico. On their way, Mulder receives a visit by the three additional ghosts, the lone gunman, who advise him to flee for his life rather than continue his pursuit of the truth. Mulder politely declines. Meanwhile, Doggett and Reyes find the office emptied, suggesting that the X-Files has been closed down for the third time. Mulder and Scully arrive at the Anasazi ruins to find a wise man who they believe can make sense of the classified documents Mulder has read. They discover the so-called wise man is none other than the Smoking Man, who is still alive after all, is hiding to survive the colonization, an event that will happen on December 22nd, 2012, the predicted end of the world. Outside, Reyes and Doggett arrive and prepare to fight Rohr, who has been sent to kill Mulder and the Smoking Man. Rohr is killed when the magnetite in the ruins affects his superhuman body. Switching cars with Mulder and Scully, Doggett and Reyes drive off. Black helicopters destroy the cliff dwellings and the Smoking Man within, thinking that Mulder is still inside before flying away. Doggett and Reyes are last seen speeding away themselves. In a motel room in Roswell, New Mexico, Mulder and Scully prepare for bed and talk. Mulder explains that his belief that the dead are not lost to us, they speak to us as part of something greater than us, greater than any alien force. And if you and I are powerless now, I want to believe that if we listen to what's speaking, it can give us the power to save ourselves. Despite their slim chance for success, Mulder declares maybe there's hope as they lie back, content in each other's arms in a loving embrace. Ah.
Thank you.
So I did the Seinfeld thing because I've been making that joke for a while now, but it can't ever get away from the fact that both finales are basically the same. Although
Well,
you know what I mean though. Mulder gets away, whereas the Seinfeld cast get put thrown in jail. But it's still, in lieu of anything really good for a finale, they're basically clip shows
yeah.
on a trial as an excuse to bring back every odd character you can get hold of.
In absolute fairness, this episode didn't need to be feature length.
No.
It could have been a normal length episode with just less flashbacks.
Yes. And ultimately, and I think you sort of mentioned to me that the critic reviews have said the same thing, we learn nothing.
Basically, yeah. We recap a lot of stuff that has happened already, but some of it, I don't want to say contradicts things we've been told before, but certainly makes connections that we have never seen in the series before.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff is missed out or very hastily skipped over. Like, none of the Piper and Rue stuff is alluded to, though the black oil has to be there because Fight the Future is in the mix. But we don't talk about the points where the black oil does something a bit weird to how the alien conspiracy works.
We don't even really mention the gestation that the black oil does later or anything like that.
No, I think there's a brief shot of it, but yeah, they don't really mention that part.
We've just kind of focusing on the black oil as being purity.
Yeah. And Samantha comes up in a really limited and very weird way when you get down to it, given that she was the driving force through 8 seasons? 7 seasons? 7 seasons. And she's just alluded to once as the clone, and don't really do anything with that either.
No. I think it's the problem, like when we gave up on Kim's Conspiracy Corner a while ago, is the fact that after a while you just can't connect the dots in the conspiracy in the X-Files. It's probably the series' biggest flaw is that the series has kind of failed again and again to have a running plot.
Yes. You can forgive them for season 1, given that they've no idea if this is going to work.
Or even if it's going to be picked up beyond that.
Yeah, and there's a point I've been running through my head, because obviously the end of the X-Files is quite close to us now. We haven't got long left at all now.
No, the equivalent of about a season and a half.
Yeah. And it was coming in my head, one thing, we'll get into it more when we get to obviously, is like, there are a few points in the X-Files series where you can sort of make a point, this is a better place to end it on than where it will. And I'll go into all of them later, but I was thinking, the end of season 1 is actually a really good place to have left the X-Files off for good.
Yeah.
Because it would be, Mulder has thrown himself against the rocks and been dashed to pieces. He's failed. But also things like the bookend with Cancer Man. You start with, you found evidence, it gets put into a warehouse, like from the end of Raiders Last Ark. In a mine flask, you got your evidence, went right back into that same warehouse, no benefit to you at all. The conspiracy is not assailable.
No.
You will not win.
Which is basically what we've taken 9 seasons to get back to.
9 seasons to get back to. And I'm still weirded out by Cancer Man, because I'm still not sure if Mulder ever found out that he's meant to be dead.
On screen, definitely not, though you could argue that in Mulder's season-long pilgrimage, he might have uncovered the fact that Cancer Man is dead. Mulder hasn't been on screen for a long time, and we don't really know what he's been doing with his time.
No, I mean, I thought the charitable way of looking at it is Cancer Man hasn't shown up in ages, and he was basically at the end of his life last time we saw him, so that you can assume he's dead?
He did have the kind of brain disease.
He did. But I do think that they, in the writing terms, they've mixed up with what the audience knows with what Mulder knows, and Mulder should not know that Cancer Man is allegedly dead, unless Krychek tells him, and why would Mulder believe Krychek?
Or unless he found out in these 9 months he hasn't been on screen.
Well, should we get into that a little bit? Because we do get an explanation of where he's been, and it's really shoddy.
It's a bit akin to Jimmy Bond having been crossing the world in search of Eves.
But I think it's even worse than that. He's been living with Gibson Praise for 9 months.
In the middle of the desert.
In the middle of the desert. And it's Gibson... How are you moving around the world? Because you just seem to just show up sporadically, and we know we're going to say goodbye to you, except in the comics. But we're going to have to deal with you a bit further.
Yeah, true.
Mulder says, oh, I gave myself up to protect Gibson Praise, and it's is anyone after him anymore? Does anyone care?
The original Shadow Conspiracy is dead, and no one else seems to have
Well,
done anything with him.
Except for the bounty hunter at the start of season 8.
Yeah, true.
That was the last time anyone went for Gibson Phrase.
I think that's the last time we saw Gibson
It
Phrase.
is. Also, is it me, or every time Mulder is off screen for an extended period of time and comes back, he's the biggest douchebag when he comes back in?
Oh, when he was being... What's the strongest word I'm allowed to use on this podcast? But when he meets with Scully again, he immediately does the Hannibal Lecter impersonation.
Yeah, it's like, what is wrong with you, man? But before that, though, he was doing the whole, I don't know anything. I've been tortured by the military or whatever it is. What is going on? Because I think you said at the time, and it's quite accurate, is it felt very much like Kafka's The Trial, but apparently by someone who didn't really understand how Kafka's The Trial worked.
Would you like to explain Kafka's The Trial just for the channel? Because it's a bit obscure.
Oh, come on, I expect you all to be literate. Anyway, Kafka's The Trial, and like all Kafka's work, was never meant to be published because he ordered it all to be destroyed on his death.
It was also unfinished.
Also unfinished, which does explain the very abrupt ending, but quite how it can keep on going, I don't know. Kafka's The Trial is a man discovers one day that he has been charged with a crime. He is never told what that crime is never shown any of the evidence for it, gets invited to strange court proceedings at infrequent and inconvenient hours, asked incomprehensible questions, and no one is prepared to give him a straight answer about what happens. And the ultimate conclusion of this is he is executed in the dead of night in a frankly bizarre chain of events where he's warned just beforehand that his trial's going badly, and he kind of protests that I have no idea how my trial is going.
Yeah.
But it's the machination.
That's it in a nutshell, yeah.
It's machinations of a judicial system that is working in a way that's absolutely inscrutable to you, and no one is prepared to make you aware or let you actually change the outcome. You are at its whims.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I think Kafka might be a bit highbrow for the X-Files, but at the same time, at the early part of Mulder's trial, I was just thinking of the Kafka story the whole time. It's very much like that, where they've taken Mulder in, they won't explain anything to Mulder's friends, anything else. They're even blocking Doggett trying to ask to see the evidence.
Yeah.
And then, throwing it back at him saying you're not putting in enough effort to find this evidence.
Yeah. And it's also the part where they keep coming in and yelling at Mulder to tell them something and keep saying wrong answer and storming out again.
Yeah.
Although, just an aside on the highbrow thing, is Mel Brooks loves Kafka, as far as I can tell.
Fair enough.
It's one of these weird ones, but there's a reference to the Metamorphosis in most of his films.
There's definitely one in the producers.
It's also Spaceball.
Oh, really?
Because it's when they transform the spaceship at the end, they go, prepare for metamorphosis. Ready, Kafka?
Yes, they do.
So it's one of these ones where, if Mel Brooks doesn't do highbrow, but there's word references in there, so Carter should be able to do this.
Okay, we can make the assumption that Carter is aware of
I don't
Kafka's
think he is.
trial.
But I feel... No, it's an odd one because I'll say, for what he's trying to do, you'd want to lean into how Kafka works, because that does speed what you're trying to aim. But then you give up on Kafka. You have a mundane trial. It's a rigged trial. I mean, they make that very clear from the word go.
And if you're in any doubt, when Gibson Praise reveals that one member of the panel of judges is a super soldier.
Yeah, and they don't throw the trial out or anything.
Yeah.
And just the complete lack of interest from the panel in anything. The other thing that Carter's almost certainly going for, and it was definitely admitted as an inspiration back at the start of the X-Files, is JFK, particularly the film version by Oliver Stone, which culminates in a trial. And part of that is, and it's been a very long time since I watched JFK, but as part of this trial, for this ostensibly unrelated person, they drag in the entire JFK conspiracy, so this guy can get his day in court and presents all the evidence, like there's Zapruder footage, all the weird inconsistencies surrounding it. And the point, though, I thought of JFK is that's a public trial. This got it into the public consciousness in a way that you wouldn't be able to normally. You make this as high profile as possible because you've got witnesses, people have coming to view the trial.
Yeah.
The difference here is that this is a closed courtroom where no one will ever know what happened.
It's more a tribunal.
Yeah. And it's a secret tribunal for the military because they say, no, there's going to be no record of this. No one in the public is ever going to hear it. And why would you even try? Like, I do acknowledge that they convinced Kirsch.
Yes.
And aside from, I think it's Reyes who actually gets the Kirsch of all of them?
Yeah, that's right, it is.
Other than that, I don't know, because Gibson says something like 3 of them are wavering, and it's like, what happened to... How did that work? Did they waver then come back?
Especially because the prosecutor is just wiping the floor with them the entire time. He's one of the most entertaining things in the episode because basically he lets them go through all these lengthy speeches and then says, all right, prove it.
Yeah.
Every single time.
And I think it's one thing we've been banging on about the X-Files for a long time, is there's an awful lot of this person says X, gives us nothing else, we're going to trust him implicitly, we've lost him, there goes our entire case. And as you said, Mulder does really badly on every trial he's ever been on.
Yeah, you just shouldn't let him talk.
No. And yet they do, or they want him to.
But mind you, in this one, they're atrocious as well. That prosecutor has Doggett running in circles, too.
Well, and Scully to a point.
These are all intelligent people who should be better at this.
Yes. And just know what to say. And it's also kind of maddening the whole, Skinner can be my defense attorney. Like, Skinner doesn't know what he's doing.
He admits to that as well.
And admits to it, yeah. You can do this. You shouldn't. There's a whole thing in legal systems why you don't do this. You absolutely can. And all I could think of is we didn't know how else to get Skinner into most of the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Though really, did we need all these cameos and everything?
No.
I feel the finale of the series should end where it began and just be an episode about Mulder and Scully.
Yes. And something else about the conspiracy. I mean, also, I think we'll have to touch on what the episode is kind of wanting to be about, which is this reveal, which is basically a non-reveal, I think.
The thing about the end of days.
The colonization thing, yeah. And I think even in 2002, the zeitgeist was starting to pick up on 2012 as being an end of the world thing. Like, that film has to have been going into the production short.
Oh, the movie 2012.
Yeah, 2012. And I think other conspiracy theorists have already brought up, the Mayan calendar ended on this day for some reason.
Yeah, I remember it being a big thing it was something like the 21st of December, 2012, 22nd of December. And it being a big thing and everyone's sitting up to midnight to wait for the Mayan calendar to end.
Yeah. And, even before we got to 2012, a lot of sensible archaeologists and anthropologists said, yeah, but when they get to the end of their calendars, they just made new calendars. It didn't mean the Mayans would have marked the end of the world differently than the calendar ending.
In terms of the X-Files, we have brought up the concept of the Mayan calendar ending a few times before. I think earliest was Red Museum, because that whole cult believed that some great thing would happen in 2012.
Yeah.
And there was also one of the conspiracies, I want to say Amor Fati, began with the monologue about how the Mayans had talked about the world ending 6 times before and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, 5 times before, it must be for the 6th.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you've always had this running concept of the Mayan calendar running through the X-Files. So it's not a big shock that would be the end of days by the alien invasion.
Well, I also want to say, Mayans, outside of allegedly predicting the end of the world, don't have prophetic stuff. I mean, they don't have any Nostradamus kind of thing going, or the Bible code, or any of these future foresight things that, have been conspiracies. It's just the end of the world. That's all the Mayans are ever famous for.
That's
in terms of conspiracy
a bit
thinking.
of what have the Romans ever done for us, though.
In terms of conspiracy thinking, the only thing they ever got is the end of the world.
It's where they come up, and it's often cited, at least before you actually read into it and understand all the rest of it. It's because their astronomy was so good that they could make these really precise calendars.
Yeah.
So without any foresight, you're thinking, if they're so good at this, why does it end there?
I think it's basically they ran out of room on the chart, isn't it?
Well, there was an indication, the fact that it's not the first time this has happened, and they did them in cycles, and then another calendar would have just started afterwards. The
implication is prophecy. And I think where that falls down in the X-Files is, how do you explain, if the Mayan is prophetic and it's astronomical observations, how do you explain the aliens came and negotiated with the syndicate part? Because however many thousands of years ago, to be able to do that as a prophecy is that's a stretch.
I also think that there are problems with the flashback we get in this episode where they're trying to marry up the syndicate's relationship with the aliens, and it kind of forgot that the syndicate was working against them the whole time. The original idea, as I remember it, that they pandered the syndicate was the idea that the aliens gave them a window and said, you can create a cure, this is your time frame to do so, we'll give you some help along the way, and all the rest of it. And it's the syndicate that tried to screw over the aliens, and that's where it ended badly.
Yeah.
But in our summary of this, we kind of forget that entire plot point. And it's just the whole, oh no, the syndicates and the aliens were working together. Yeah, that's exactly how it was happening.
Quite. And touching on that as well, though, I feel like Chris Carter thought I've missed it out and I need to put it in because I don't have another chance to do it. Which is Roswell. Because Roswell is one of the things the X-Files really carefully tiptoed around.
Except for Dreamland, arguably.
Except for Dreamland, arguably, and also Deep Throat. Because Mulder has the photo of the Roswell crash, which we went, how do you have that? No one has that.
We also know that Deep Throat executed the Roswell alien if we can trust musings of a cigarette smoking man.
Well, that wasn't Roswell alien.
Was that not Roswell?
That wasn't Roswell. That was like in the 80s.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
Because in the truth, they do present it like that. Because they show members of cigarette smoking man while they're talking about Roswell and executing aliens.
Oh, is that where
That's where you got it from.
Right.
But in the actual episode, it was like the late 80s.
Okay. So, what, the Roswell crash was something like 67, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Or 57, maybe.
57. Certainly, well, decades and decades ago.
Yeah.
So, while Deep Throat and Cancerman were around and operating, sure, but not when they look like that. But it's something the X-Files has tiptoed around for the most part, and now we're trying to wire it into the conspiracy in a way that doesn't read right again, because they're talking about the Roswell crash. Then they've got the negotiation with the aliens that we saw in Red and Black and Patient X, or whichever one the conspiracy died in. Is that Red and Black?
No, it was what came after the Red and the Black,
okay,
wasn't
the
it?
next one. 2001 Son. Yeah. But that was, they kind of presented it more of a planned negotiation, not we've got your crashed ship, come get your person we've held hostage. Oh, we shot him, sorry. How do the aliens feel about this anyway? The fact they just keep killing the aliens.
Well, the aliens don't have any sense of emotion. They can't smile or laugh or anything like that.
Oh, we could do so much more with him natural, couldn't we? That didn't get referenced one, did it?
Funny that.
Funny that.
Except for the one time the alien played baseball.
And it was a lovely episode, and it sort of go, yeah, this is kind of how we should be operating and not caring about the conspiracy bit.
One day we'll get to our actual top 10, but that's high for me. That's just such a beautiful episode.
Still has that inexplicable urchin in it, though.
Quiet. Nobody disses the ragamuffin.
Fair enough. The truth, though. So, yeah, but as a wrap-up, it kind of feels like you haven't done your homework, and you have to write your essay fast. And rather than writing an essay, you've just decided to restate the question 9 times.
Just word it slightly different.
Word it slightly differently. Because I think that's the problem, is this feature-length episode doesn't need to be feature-length, like you said. But also, you're trying to condense 9 seasons into an hour and a half. But less than an hour and a half, because you've got all the padding around that. And then you've missed out so much of it. And you're also changing the narrative, which I think is the frustrating part. Because the conspiracy never made sense previously, but it had a more of a consistent through line than it's got now.
I'd say the conspiracy was fairly consistent up until about Two Fathers, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it was when the rebels came in, you started going, what?
They mutilated their faces, but they can still shapeshift and have mouth holes.
We're going to try not to talk about that part. I mean, I understand why you wouldn't bring up at a trial, because you'd look embarrassed sort of talking about shapeshifters, even though we have medical evidence of this guy, just this one guy, who, terrible person we put in prison and on drugs so he can't do it anymore, he can just do it anyway. We're just going to leave that to one side.
Oh yeah, not mentioning Small Potato.
Yeah, because shapeshifting aliens isn't as insane when you've got the shapeshifting man in prison.
I mean, we've had some pretty sound evidence for various parts of the conspiracy, like the clones in
Colony.
Yeah, the bounty hunter killing off the 3 guys who are genetically identical.
Yeah, and as long as you sort of don't try to do the Russian spy cover story that Mulder was so suckered in by somehow.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, Mulder, what are you doing? This is insane.
And we talk about all this alien buy-through and the rules of the conspiracy, and we don't mention Lord Kimboat.
Tragic, really, that one, isn't it? That should have come up with the trial.
What, you mean Lord Kimboat?
Sorry, shocked Pikachu face, I should say. There is some weirdness with trying to do it as a court procedural as well, which you can kind of see the appeal of it. I mean, there is a reason why we have so many courtroom things, various series and films as well. Is that you can do drama in courtroom scenes really easily.
And, 12 Angry Men, you can easily set something entirely in a courtroom and it will still carry itself.
Yeah. But this didn't do that either. But I know there's the entire legitimate reason why the autopsy of the alleged body of Noel Raw was thrown out as evidence, despite the fact that you'd think that you'd throw the case out if the evidence is, oh, here's the dead body of the man he killed. That's not the man he killed.
Hi, I, John Doggett, served with this man in whichever war I served with him in. That ain't him.
Yeah. So, you don't have to find Mulder, because we talked about this, you don't have to find Mulder innocent. It's a mistrial. You have to throw it all out and say, right,
I'm not sure you can mistrial a secret military
tribunal. No, I know
you
can't, but...
I would have so enjoyed it more if we'd actually let this go to court properly. It's like, do it as a full Phoenix Wright trial and it'd be great.
Yes. Chris Carter, I think, wrote this secretly hoping that everything that came after it was going to happen. He didn't actually want to finish the series off. And we can jump ahead a bit and say, My Struggle Part 4, he's still operating in the same way. He does not want this to end.
To skip ahead slightly less than you, his original intent as well, after they made the X-Files movie we'll be talking about next week, is he wanted to make a third film which would focus on the end of days. It would be the invasion plot. But that never happened, and indeed his ideas for that were in part the basis for season 10.
Yeah, and that I can see that. Then season 11 happened, and I don't understand what's going on anymore because
we'll get to it.
That throws everything out the window.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that Chris Carter's entire modus, I think even if you'd given him that feature film, you'd end it with loose ends and an opening to keep on going.
My biggest problem, and I appreciate this will not be a problem for everyone, it's completely subjective. But we really realised, I think quite late on in the X-Files, is we can't wrap it up nice and neat with a tight little bow.
No.
But that means that this is our final episode ever where we want some closure, and there is none.
No.
So basically you're ending this like it needs to go into another season because there is no possible way that we can resolve the conspiracy. It's too deep for just Mulder and Scully to solve.
Yes. Basically, I do get that you have to have the film, basically. You have to have the day of colonization and somehow stop it.
Do you want to know how the X-Files series could have ended?
Go on then, I'm curious.
Do you know about the polarizing final scene that they had planned for season 9? It wasn't going to end with Mulder and Scully having a nice moment.
Oh, I think I saw this when I was flicking through the Wikipedia articles. Does this involve the West Wing?
Yes, in a way.
Yeah, I did see this, but you may relay this one.
So our final scene, as Chris Carter wanted it to happen, it was polarizing, and in the end, they opted to not film this last scene, and most people, especially Spotnitz, are glad that they didn't. But how it was supposed to end was Toothpick Man going into the Oval Office and telling President of the time, who would have been George W. Bush, that Mulder had escaped them, inferring that this is kind of goes all the way to the top, this conspiracy. But Chris Carter had other ideas, as they would have had to have used the Oval Office set that was created for the West Wing. Instead of George W. Bush, there would have been a pan round, and it would have been Martin Sheen sat in that place as Josiah Bartlett. Yep. So that would have ended with our kind of, as Chris Carter put it, a nice sort of wink that West Wing and X-Files were set in the same universe. So for that critic from last week who complained that the penultimate episode of the X-Files was a homage to Brady Bunch, the final episode could have been a homage to the West Wing.
Oh, dear. I think the problem with that is I have never really had problems believing that the president of the day does know exactly what's going on and is complicit. I mean, that was kind of inferred a lot of the time.
They've always said that it goes deep, and in American procedural, if the deepest it could go is the president of the United States.
Yeah. I mean, you had things like Independence Day, which did have a few specific lines saying that the president was ignorant of Area 51 and what happened for plausible deniability. But some of his staff knew exactly what was going on the entire time.
Yeah.
So the fact it got up to that level of government isn't a shock to me. It would never have been a shock to me. It's a case of, oh, okay. But that's not a conclusion again.
No, again, that's ending it on a cliffhanger, like now all hell is going to come for Mulder.
Yeah. And spoilers, no.
I don't remember how we go into the movie for this, and it'll be something to see next week. But in the comic series, at least, the two of them are just still around living as a couple under assumed names.
Oh, that's pretty much how the film does it as well.
I think they've taken whatever the name of the magician is the name that Mulder has assumed, and Scully has a similar name, same surname as his wife in the comic.
It's interesting that the conspiracy has cut around one thing I kept flagging up earlier that hasn't gone anywhere. And I don't know what to put it down to on the grounds that the person saying it was Cancer Man, and the person he was saying it to was something like the Alien Bounty Hunter. Of, how important Mulder is to all this. It's like, what was that about?
If we kill him, he'll become a martyr.
No, after that, he was instrumental to the project. And we've never got anywhere with it or explained it. The best you can come up with, and it's really kind of tortured logic, is it's all about the brain transplant from the Sixth Extinction.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense, because that wasn't until he was infected by the black oil, which is Tunguska, and that might have been the same kind of time period, but I don't know why you'd think Mulder was more important than literally anyone else who was also exposed to black oil.
True, yeah.
Other than possible genetic compatibility because he was his son, but just go and harvest his brain early. Don't leave it for so long. And let Mulder nearly die a few times. Let's talk ghosts, because this has always bothered me. And
ghosts or figments of Mulder's imagination.
Ghosts, because Cratchit closed the door.
You're hinging your belief they're ghosts on this. Alright, force ghosts, we'll go with that.
When Mulder is trying to escape the military installation, he sees Krychek, who sort of beckons him out the door. Krychek then closes that door onto the pursuing soldier, so he can't get through.
Think Fight Club. Maybe Mulder's doing this himself, but hallucinating a friend.
Okay, maybe he is. But the ghosts, though, so it's nice to see the Lone Gunman. It's really nice to see X. It's actually quite nice to see Krychek, because it's been a long time.
I love Mr. X.
What the hell are they doing? Why are they here, other than we can get some cheap fan service out of them?
Well, you have the whole thing with Mulder's oddly theistic ending speech, where it seems like he's finally embraced Catholicism. But it's akin to kind of Clive Barker with the opening line in Books of Blood of "There are highways the deads can use." That's what it kind of puts in my head.
Okay.
Because you've got these channels by which the dead can speak through people.
Fair point.
Which is kind of what you have with Mulder, and what he's assuming when he says, the dead can still speak to us at the end.
Yeah. As the X-Files left it with the truth, you could say, surely this is going to mean something in the future.
Mm.
And we can categorically come back and say, no, it doesn't. At all.
Especially when we get to Silicon Heaven.
Don't talk about Silicon Heaven yet. Come on, got a bit longer. Not far off, but we're going to get there. We'll get to Silicon Heaven.
I don't want to get there.
No, I know, I don't want to get there either. It's such an odd mix of characters that show up as well, and it feels a bit like who looked sufficiently young enough still
to still be believable the age they were when they died.
Yeah. Given Krychek, it's not been that long, ultimately.
The guy who plays Mr. X has great genes because he still looks exactly the same when he's in it.
Yeah, and the Lone Gunmen have been dead for a matter of weeks at this point. So they're all okay, but why are they here? I don't get it. They don't do much. If anything.
It's cute cameos.
They're cute cameos, but you could have... I don't know, just on the top of my head here, you've got them in for these weird cameos where they basically just get to stand around and tell Mulder cryptic clues that don't make much sense, except the Lone Gunmen who say, get out of the country. Very sensible. If you're going to do this courtroom and flashback thing, why not film new scenes that we never saw in the episodes to fill in the gaps of the conspiracy? Make use of the people you've got here.
True. I was just thinking in my head then of more fun cameos we could put in. Just have random villains appear like tombs in the background.
That would have been funny, yes.
The Fluke Man just going... Thanks, Mr. Flukeman, we'll take that on board.
He's still alive.
Arguably. Well, he is in the comics, definitely.
Yeah, he was definitely alive at the end of the episode.
Mm. Oh, Clyde Bruckman.
Yeah. Was it the
I'm not sure if the actor was still alive then, to be honest.
I think Jose Chung was still alive.
We
could have had Jose Chung.
You would have just had to bring him in as a witness.
Yeah, it'd be great fun.
It'd be when you need to filibuster for a while.
Which, I mean, going back to my original point is, I think that's one thing that at least Seinfeld had, is that they went for quantity over any kind of coherency, because they got almost everyone they could in.
Yeah.
And so you had, even, it's not a great episode, but at least you had little moments, the memories of those punchlines and everything when they actually appeared in the episode.
You had some great moments as well, like when they called the soup Nazi up to the stand and stuff like that.
You know, they give his real name.
And they give his real name and nobody knows who he is, and then he walks in.
Yeah. Still a terrible episode. It's in comparison to this, it's not a fun episode, I think, is the problem.
I think it's because the tone of this episode is so bleak, other than Mulder's final dialogue, which at least is hopeful. The rest of the episode is very, very dark.
Yes. I mean, we could also talk about the people that we've implied killed, because there's Skinner is implied dead,
and Director Kirsch.
Yeah, and spoilers, they're fine. They will never explain how they're fine, because I don't understand how you put them into those situations and expect them to get out, but they will be fine.
I'm not sure if Praise is going to be okay now we've left him behind as well, because Praise has showed his hand, and the super soldiers are now aware that he can identify them. But we just leave him behind.
Well, I would say we'll skip ahead a bit and just say we can also just ditch the super soldiers, given they're not going to matter at all.
They do appear in the comic. Yeah. But again, now that we have season 10 of the series, the comic used to be canon and it is no longer.
But in terms of the TV version of the X-Files, the super soldiers have now run their course. They mean nothing. Does no one understand how to write Cancer? I think is the question.
He's very out of character in this episode.
Well, William B. Davis understood Cancer Man. That's really clear now, because we still know that we're going to have to revisit Enemy at some point. Not yet. We'll get there. It's coming up. For now, though, great Cancer Man episode. Knew exactly who the character was. Knew how to write him. Knew how he thought, how he ticked, and everything.
I still like Musings as a way to see Cancer Man from another angle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that was Musings was a really fun episode again. With all the get out clauses for some, none, all, nothing happened in this episode.
It was a very Rashomon episode.
Yes, quite apart from the other Rashomon episode.
True. Another one of my interesting facts was actually about the filming of the sequence with Cancer Man.
Oh, that was terrible.
That's in the Anasazi ruin.
Can I just point out before you get to that is they keep saying Anasazi ruins, and it was like those look a lot like modern bricks. Are you sure these are Anasazi
ruins? Indeed, they were.
It's like, this is really.
But also, didn't we discover that the Anasazi were kind of like troglodytes in the previous episode? They didn't really have ruins. They lived kind of in caves and stuff like that, is what they said in the previous episodes.
Was it? Oh,
yeah. But anyway, Anasazi ruins. They were built from scratch. The filming actually took place in the Anza Borrego Desert State Park, so a US national park. They got permission to build these structures from scratch, which first hit the small snag of it. Turned out the location where they were going to build them was the habitat of an endangered animal. The animal in question was the spiny black horned toad. So they had to hire several biologists to try and locate any spiny black horned toads and relocate them out the area so they could build their structure. And then he had to reveal to the state troopers that he intended to then blow up the structure, and it went down tremendously well. So, obviously some of that is CGI, because there's that shot that they are actually incredibly proud of if you read the production notes, but looks absolutely terrible when they incinerate the Cancer Man.
Yeah. Spoilers, that doesn't work either.
But yeah, our base thing of we have erected, as you say, a very modern brick structure that we've then blown up.
Yeah, and then I will actually say I appreciate the attempt to loop the Anasazi in with the magnetite thing, when we're going to have to put aside that magnetite as a weakness is still one of the stupidest things ever, and they tried to get away with saying it's a type of magnetite.
I did notice this time they say it's a type of magnetite, because evidently somebody has said, it is present in human bodies.
Yeah.
It's basically iron ore.
At the same time, though, it's the Anasazi knew and fit into the world, so they built their ruins here. And you want to go, remember the episode Anasazi where it said the aliens abducted all the Anasazi and they were never brought back again?
But also the fact that magnetite, as far as we're aware, is not a weakness of the aliens, it's a weakness of the super soldiers.
Yeah. So the series is hopelessly confused on this point. But yeah, Cancer Man is alive and well. Yeah, but
Well, not alive and well at this point.
he's fine. Let's not just.
We saw his skull and everything.
Let's not dance around the fact that he's in season 10 and 11 in the present tense.
Even though his skull blew up.
Even though his skull blew up, apparently they decided he can get over being pushed down the stairs. I can understand how he survived that one. Being shot and the amount of blood.
You are bearing in mind, as I've kept harping on, he was not just pushed down the stairs, he also had a terminal illness at the time. Odds were not stacked in his favour.
I know, but then I think we made the point a few times is they made such a big thing of Jeremiah Smith and the alien bounty hunter can just cure you of whatever you're suffering from. And it's the Cancer Man. Now, you can contact the bounty hunter on a whim, apparently. Do you want to just say, hey, come on, just cure everything that's wrong with me, let me keep on going.
I love the pure villainous look for Cancer Man at this stage, where he looks wild and untamed, and he's still smoking cigarettes through the trach hole in his neck and stuff like that. We've turned him into absolute comic book villain at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's another problem with how far we've gone, because obviously you'd want him in for the ending, given he was out at the start.
I believe him, Mulder, and Scully are the only characters who are in both the first and the last episode, though.
They're the only people who can be. He used to have an air of menace to him. Usually, it's if Cancer Man showed up, it wouldn't necessarily be, it's not like Darth Vader or the Alien or, because we were talking about earlier, Vicious from Cowboy Bebop showing up and you go, oh hell, you're basically dead.
Mm.
But you don't want him around because he's going to do something bad.
Well, in part, it's because you had no way of knowing exactly how powerful he was.
Yeah.
You knew he held a position of power in the government. You don't know how high he is.
Yeah, and except for the odd times when you could turn the tables on him, which were appreciated because it did undercut him.
Mm.
Like with the digital tape and Albert memorizing the entire contents of it.
Yes.
And that rattled him. So, he wasn't all powerful, but generally he was in control.
Mm.
Instead, he just lives in a cave in the desert.
Well, you previously cited as well this episode, Enemy, which is a good example because that one begins with Cancer Man seeming vulnerable, but he's been playing it all to his tune the entire episode, as becomes apparent at the end that Scully never had any power at all.
Yes, he was basically dictating everything from afar.
Mm.
That's Cancer Man. Being the villain who lives being the dragon who lives in the cave. Let's not dance around this. He is the end boss.
Yeah.
That Mulder is here to slay. Only Mulder doesn't even bother to do that part.
Especially with the added complexity of the fact that now it's open on the table that he is Mulder's father.
Yeah, and we don't know what to do with that. Outside of a shock reveal to the audience that you can put on an advert and constantly hint about, outside of the brain surgery thing, we can't do anything with it.
No.
It doesn't mean anything.
No.
I think the problem with this episode, and we'll wrap it up in a minute, I think, because we have been dancing around the subject, and I think we just said at the start, is nothing happens in this wretched episode. It should be called Nothing Happened Important Happened Today, Part 3.
I think you're being a bit unfair. But
I'm being a little bit unfair.
Anything that does happen is in about the last 20 minutes of the feature-length episode. I believe in modern screenings, they have now split it. It is 2 episodes now.
Okay.
But the time it was aired, it was intended to be the feature-length season finale, which is how we watched it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you'd split it exactly, to be fair.
Despite the whole claims of the feature-length episode, it has the ad break fade out.
Oh, I suppose so, yeah.
You can spot where things end. I'm sure the Sculder shippers loved the ending.
Yes, indeed they did. That was one of the most positive criticisms. I will get my list of critics up for this episode now. But one of the more positive ones did comment on the fact that the episode will appeal to the romantic people who ship Mulder and Scully together.
Well, it's also, and very consciously, it's a mirror of the pilot, because they even posed exactly the same one as hotel beds.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Very conscious aping of that. Although...
Which is kind of nice, to be fair.
It's kind of nice. At the same time, it's... Last time Mulder was talking about his sister and how she went missing. Now he's driveling about ghosts.
But, as I said, it's the weird theism is he also touches her cross.
Yeah.
Do we finally have Mulder just not being the ultra skeptic when it comes to Catholicism.
Spoilers, no. I think it's ultimately the maddening thing that I want to believe in season 10 and 11 will do, is that you have these loose ends and these kind of interesting hooks that will just say, no, none of them mean anything.
So it'd be a shame not to bring up Robert Sherman now, our long-standing critic, the wanting to believe a critical guide to the X-Files, Millennium and the Lone Gunman guy.
Now, he liked Sunshine Days, didn't he?
He did? Yeah.
He did,
Well, he gave it a middling view.
He gave a middling view. He dissatisfied, I guess.
1 star.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
So he was very, very unhappy with the way it ended, especially the reveal of the 2012 colonization. And the quote is this really what this series is about? Which is a very good point.
It is a very good point. Well, I mean, we have touched on this a few times because it was things like How the Ghost Stole Christmas spelled it out in block capitals, and we said, don't do that. It's about loneliness and connections. And I think I told you about it earlier, as my thought was, I want to know what the Sunshine Days person who didn't like it is going to say about the truth, because, hey, you didn't like how the Sunshine Days is going to leave things. Does this do better for you?
Unfortunately, I don't think I found a criticism from her for this episode.
That's a shame, because I would be very curious to see whether she ate her words after that.
Yeah, but Sherman's basic summing up, and I'm paraphrasing a lot on this, but he said that The X-Files on a whole is frequently a truly brilliant series, but it decided to kind of do this final episode, which defined itself in summing up the episode and then failed to answer any questions.
Yeah. I think we got derailed off it before, but one point I was going to try and make was, I can appreciate the conspiracy being very kind of hit and miss and put together as you went along for season 1, because we don't know how far we're going with it. The conspiracy is kind of alluded to because it's old background stuff. It's if we investigate aliens, we end up tangling with the Men in Black or the government keep hushing things up, and that's all fine. Season 2 onwards, they kind of needed to nail it down before they went any further, and they didn't. And as always, I'll point to Piper Maru is the big indicator that even if they had it set in stone before Gillian Anderson got pregnant, which she got pregnant at the end of season 1 anyway, so there's no excuse for that one. They should have handled that. They should have known how to handle it. But Piper Maru is the big one where that threw any conspiracy planning out the window when everyone responded so well to the black oil. That completely changed how they thought of the conspiracy.
So finally, when I told you that reviews of this were polarizing,
yeah,
do you want to know the measure with which I chose to distinguish that?
Okay, I'm going to guess that. So he gave 1 star, so the 5-star review.
No, kind of slightly different. The New York Times reviewed the episode twice, 2 different reviewers. One gave it a glowing review, one gave it a scathing review. Which I thought is kind of fascinating.
That is. How much of a Scalderbush shipper was the first one?
No, not what you think. So, The negative review of it was by a woman called Joyce Millman, who said the most imaginative show on television has finally reached the limits of its imagination.
Yeah.
And that's quote verbatim. And then on the other side, you have Julie Salomon, again of the New York Times, who's, where's my quote for it? Said that until the end, the series maintained its mesmerizing visual gloominess, cleverly punctuated with suggestive plays of colour and life. And she also said to the end it retained its conspiracy theory heart, which she considered to be the kind of greatest appeal of the X-Files. So they are. Same publication, 2 polarizing reviewers.
So we've come to the end of the season. We have 1 film and 2 seasons left, although given that one of those seasons is 6 episodes and one is like 10...
Is it only 10? I thought it was more than that.
It might be slightly more than that. It's not a lot, though. They're both shortened.
Yes, they are. I think it's more than 10, though.
Is it more than 10? Okay.
No, actually, I've just looked it up. You're right, it is 10 episodes, so basically, it's not even a full season between them.
Yeah, so we've functionally got 18 episodes to go.
Mm-hmm. So, as a season wrap-up then, for season 9, I think that this is by far the weakest season so far. This is X-Files past its heyday. Yeah,
we have to have something for Dogger to do. Gillian Anderson wants to do less, so we need someone to take over. We've got Reyes. Reyes is right here. We can use Reyes. Does anyone have a handle on her character? No. And I think that's one of the major things about this season is that Reyes is just absolutely baffling. I love her. I would really like Reyes more than I do, but how has she not been fired?
True.
And what does she even believe? Because I think that's also questionable.
No argument there.
I don't think that is one of the things that I don't know what her take on aliens actually is.
It never really gets into it.
Because she didn't really believe the first time she showed up.
No.
And I don't know what she thought of the super soldiers, ultimately. She knew they were a threat, but I don't know what she believed about them.
No, I don't think she disbelieves in them.
No, I think there's too much physical evidence for her to disbelieve in. I don't know what she wants, how, just, but yes, she's a mystery. Dogger, I think, is doing the best with what he's got, but it's odd, isn't it, though, that Doggett suffers more in this season than season 8 when he had to compete with Mulder for screen time more.
Yeah.
Now Mulder is completely shuffled off of the cast list. They don't really seem to have anything for Doggett to do.
No.
Or he just keeps reverting back to the same point, which is, I don't believe anything. Which should be implausible after the Batman.
He's still going back to Membat.
How do you get past it? That's quantifiable supernatural stuff he's encountered in real life. You think that would change his outlook a lot?
Or the Metal Man.
Or the Metal Man. Or, I mean, I can understand Lord of the Flies just sort of skating by because that was a wholly bizarre situation that didn't make any sense.
Yeah. But he still saw the people webbed up in it.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with Sherman a lot on this, is the fact that the first 6 and generously I'll say 7 seasons of The X-Files are more kind of good than bad.
More consistent, certainly.
They're very strong, they have some very powerful episodes, some very meaningful episodes, and the last 2 seasons has been the gradual decline. Throughout season 8, gradual decline. Throughout season 9, just hurtling into the abyss. But I struggled to get my top 5 episodes for the season. Yeah. I've not struggled in any other season to pick out the 5 standout best ones for me.
No, that's fair. So who is your favourite villain?
You're starting with favourite villain this time?
I thought I'd surprise you.
Okay, who's your favourite villain then?
His mother in Lord of the Flies. I've forgotten her name.
Oh, I'm going to go with Tommy from Scary Monsters.
Also good. I would give a small bonus for the memory vampire, just because he seemed compelling. Wasn't in the episode
From
enough.
the 4 seconds you see of him in that episode.
It was an interesting idea. I couldn't understand what the episode was about.
Yeah, it's like 1 scene.
2 scenes.
Alright, fair enough.
The first one where he's all pretenders, and the one where Doggett arrests him.
Alright, yep, 2 scenes. I'm still going with Tommy.
Tommy is probably the best idea.
That kid is great, though.
Is.
He's so scary.
Well, no, the X-Files has never had problems finding children with cold dead eyes. Look at that one from the first season.
Oh, the Kalashari kid.
And the Kalashari kid.
Oh, yeah, there's the one from Possessed by Ghost in the first season.
Yeah, possessed by dead husband.
Born Again?
It was either Born Again or Lazarus. I think it was Born
No,
Again.
Lazarus is the one with Scully's ex-boyfriend who's...
Quite a lot older than her.
Yeah, that's the one.
And her teacher, I think.
Yeah, that's the one. So are we going to go with best episodes first or worst episodes? Have you got your top 5?
I've got my top 5. I think we'll go for best first. So, if you want to count down?
Okay. Are we going to do it together or do you want me to do my list first?
If you do your list first.
Okay. In number 5, I have Underneath.
Oh, okay, I did consider that one.
I'm going for an outside shot in the episode that we can never remember the title of.
You see, I'm going to listen to this while I've edited this and go, which was that one?
But again, it's the forgettable episode that when we watched it, it's actually really good.
Yeah, aside from Doggett just, jumping to conclusions on no evidence.
Number 4 is Lord of the Flies.
Okay, yeah.
3 is Improbable.
Good.
2 is Release.
Okay.
Because I still think you're overly harsh on it.
Probably.
And 1 is Sunshine Days.
Inevitable.
I think you all knew that Sunshine Days is my favourite. It's a great episode. It's lovely.
Okay, so I've got the same in a different order.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So I put number 5 as Release.
Okay.
See, I can be nice. I might have been saying, the hell else am I going to put on this list? Oh, Release is actually quite good, but...
Yeah.
Number 4 is Scary Monsters.
Oh, you went with Scary Monsters.
Oh, and Scary Monsters.
Okay.
Number 3, Lord of the Flies.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Improbable.
Yep.
And number 1 is The Sunshine Day.
Yep.
So as you alluded to, we struggled to actually find episodes this time.
I did contemplate Scary Monsters, I must admit. I think just underneath is a slightly stronger episode.
Yeah, that's probably fair. So, in the not the hardest of all, because sometimes I think we struggled with top 3 episodes before now, but this is an easy 5.
I've got to admit, I struggled to narrow it down to the top 5 this time.
You could do a top 13 if you like.
The top 13 bad episodes. Do you want to go first this time in descending order?
In descending order, if I could put 2 in here, I would do 2, but it's Providence over Providence, because Providence was bad. Providence was just absurd.
So the second one.
The second one. This was Scully's. William's been abducted by the UFO cult.
Oh, the UFO cult, yeah.
And we started going, wait, what? What prophecy? What the hell is going on? Number 4, and I can suspect where this is going to fall in your list, Demonicus, because
that's crazy, Demonicus being on my list anywhere. God, I hate it.
I know you hate it, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. It seemed to be pulling 2 different ways. Number 3, William, because it just, more because it all gives rise to the lie of what the whole season was of Mulder has to go into hiding to protect William and Scully, and this is the whole kind of said, that doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense, but we're going to change the status quo.
Mm.
Number 2 is Jump the Shark, for reasons I think we've done ad nauseum at this point. Number 1, Trust Number 1.
Okay, yeah.
Just for the sheer damage it did to Scully's character.
I'm a bit different on my list.
I imagine you would be, but I can guess Demonicus is.
Crazy talk. Okay, number 5 is The Truth.
I contemplated that. I thought, is that too harsh already?
No, it's not. Number 4 is William, but my hatred of the episode spins from the fact that they came this far and now the baby's been cured. That's the tipping point where we're going to give him up. It's like, after you've defended him this far.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, Trust Number 1, or Trust No One in number 3. 2 is John Doe.
Oh, okay.
Because it is so flaming boring.
Despite all those positive reviews.
Yeah, I was so bored in John Doe. I don't get the popularity of that episode.
I left it off because I thought, no, it's got to just be me.
And, for the record, that means I have not put Jump the Shark in my worst episode because there is a lot I actually like about that episode.
Oh, okay.
Especially a lot of the exchanges with Morris Fletcher, and you can't hate a Morris Fletcher episode.
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, I still could have had a Morris Fletcher episode without the death.
And number 1 is Demonicus. I still hate it. I hate it so much.
It's not good.
Yeah. I will give honourable mentions somewhere because I didn't put Hellbound on either list. It's kind of middling for me. And that's one where I wouldn't say I hate the episode again.
No, at the same time, you'd struggle to articulate what on earth was going on.
I like it a lot, and as a horror fan, I like it because the horror elements are really, really good, as well as all the prosthesis, as we said when we filmed it, is the skin corpses look brilliant. They look so real. But yeah, I couldn't find a way to fit it onto either list, unfortunately. That one's middling for me, and I won't say I hate it.
Very much the middle of the road.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Season 9.
Another one down. Okay, so next time we don't get to do best or worst unless we have best minutes and worst minutes. Am I bloody minded?
Best lines uttered by Billy Connolly.
Does he have any?
No.
No, I don't think so. So next time we're doing I Want to Believe, the X-Files film that, after a 6-year gap, which makes the gap to season 10 even weirder?
Yeah, I guess so.
If you would like to argue that season 9 is in fact high art. Our email address, though, is thingsargettingstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also find us on social media, and please hook me up if you'd like me to promote anything X-Files related at the start of our show. You can find us on Twitter and Tumblr at GetStrange42, at Mastodon at GetStrange42@universedon.com, and on Facebook, where you can find us by searching for Things Are Getting Strange, an X-Files Rewatch podcast. Additionally, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I also have a stream on Twitch TV under the name AdverseCamber42. I'm live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8pm GMT and Saturdays at 5pm GMT, where I am currently playing Legacy of Kain Blood Omen and Bloodborne.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/thingsargettingstrange, where for as little as $3 a month, you can have access to our bonus episodes and help us keep the lights on. Our bonus episodes include our Let's Play of the X-Files game from 1998, where you can control Craig Wilmore and mercilessly murder him.
Again and again.
Possibly find Mulder and Scully, but mostly the murder. By other people. Sometimes he got shot.
Mr. X shivved me at least once.
Yeah. I think if you got shot, don't they pull you out the river inexplicably, even if you got shot in that shootout where your partner is right there?
Oh, is that what triggers that insane?
I think there's a few.
My personal favourite is the one that kind of makes reference to Our Town, where they just find your kind of bones with the rounded off ends. Yeah.
Our theme music is Division by Kevin MacLeod. You can find it on Compotech.com under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, please remember,
maybe there's hope.